everybody? Welcome back to the LTL podcast. This is episode, I forget what episode it is already. What episode is it? I forget. I think this is episode 30. Could be episode 30. Might be episode 30. I don't know. I forget. I've had a very long day. So welcome back in. It's July 14, 2023. I want to welcome everybody into the room this evening. I see a lot of channel members. I see I see a bunch of new people in the chat. I appreciate you. We've had quite a few new subscribers over last night. I'm sorry. I've been working like crazy. Listen, I know a lot of people have been, emailing me, messaging me. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll just be honest with you all. I literally work from 9 to 8. So 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day right now. And then I come back and have about a half an hour to sit, and then I go live. I'll let you know this. I'm going to do one more show tomorrow night. We're going to do a Brian Koberger show tomorrow night to get kind of caught up on things Idaho, but I'm most likely going to be taking Sunday night off because that's my short night, and I'll get a little bit of a break. I'm tired. I've done a lot of streaming this week, and I'm very tired, but what did I want to get into? So today we're going to get into, there's been some breaking news in the Long Island serial killer. They have arrested a suspect in those murders. And also we're going to get into some new developments in the JonBenet Ramsey case. So we'll get into that. I do have Laura here backstage. She's going to come on the panel with me and hang out this evening. But before we get into the show, I just want to address something that happened last night, and I'm sure this particular person is watching right now, and it's completely fine because I'm going to address this of what happened. So we did 2 shows over the last couple of nights. We called out Zav Girl. She has come out and now done an apology to the Stotch family, to Gannon Stotch, and you all can make your determination about that apology. I came back last night and I did a show about True Crime Natasha Cooper. I have now found out that I believe that her Patreon has been taken down as well as Zav Girl. So if this stream helped get any of that done in the process, then I want to congratulate everybody for being in those 2 chats the last couple nights. And I'm pretty much completely moved on from that subject. I wanted to just make sure that it was called out, it was recognized. And again, my platform is open to either one of those creators if they want to use this platform to come on, either state their case or give an apology. You can reach out to me at my email at letstalklivepodcast@gmail.com. And you will see my chat as my kind of nightbot goes. You'll probably see it come up. So first thing that I want to do before we get into the show is address a situation that came last night. So the chat, we had about 400 people in the chat. The chat was going very quick last night. And I noticed there were 3 creators in the room. 1 that I know of, and 2 that I've never seen before in my entire life. And it was the first time that I think I've seen them in my chat. We all know Tanya from the Titanium Built channel. I have an amazing friendship with her. She's been on my panel. I've gone over and supported her channel as well. And then we had 2 other creators that were in the room. I think one of the creators was Bithu Bite Reloaded, and the other creator was someone by the name of MommyRamblingsBlog. And as the show progressed, the chat was really going fast. And when I do a show, and I will recognize your memberships in a second. When I do a show, I'm pretty much laser focused as to what I'm trying to remember and give that feedback and that performance to the crowd. I literally can count, and you can see it on my community page. I have 1, 2, 3 screens going. So I'm watching all these screens, and then I constant get messages throughout the show as well too. So it's very hard sometimes for me to keep track of the chat. So as the show progressed, I started to notice in the chat this one creator. It was the Bithu, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Bithu Bites Reloaded. And he was just saying stuff like, oh, I did a video about that on my channel. I did a video about that on my channel. Oh, I covered that on my channel. And I was like, okay, Well, I don't recognize this creator. I've never seen this creator's channel. And, I'm happy to promote people if I can go over, get a chance to view their channel, and then make my determination if I think it's something that I would like to support and call out. Absolutely. I've been very open about this. I don't watch a lot of other creators. I've said this many, many times on my program. I don't watch other creators. The reason I don't do that is I don't want their influence or their perspective or view on a certain subject to influence me. I like to keep all of my thoughts and opinions here because that's what everybody comes here for this channel. I don't want to rub off someone else's video. I don't want to have that style of someone else. It's just not my style. If I do choose to go in during a live, I may say a few words. I may just observe. Or I may chat. I might just start a cordial chat with someone in the chat. But I certainly don't go in and promote myself unless that creator that's live says, oh, wow, Let's Talk Live is in the podcast. You can go check out their channel. And then I may ask, can I drop the link? I ask in that respect. So during the show, I pulled up, and you can probably go back and watch it. I pulled up the chat of Bithu Bytes Reloaded, and I just addressed the situation. I said, hey, you know what? Just give me a little bit of respect. This is my chat. I understand that you have a channel. You're a creator, and, I respect it. We're all out here for the grind. I get it. But I just think it's a little bit disrespectful because I don't know you. I haven't vetted you. And I just thought it was a little rude. And the way that I kind of look at it is, it's like if you go to a concert, maybe to your favorite band, let's just say Metallica, okay? And I go to a Metallica concert and James Hetfield is on stage singing because he's the lead singer of Metallica. And I know all the Metallica songs, and I literally jump up, push him out of the way, and start singing on that microphone and start singing the lyrics to those songs. That would be rude, right? So I'm just looking at my notes. I'm sorry. So again, if you thought that so addressing this Mama Ramblings blog, and I want to pull up, kind of what happened in real time last night. So so this here was an email at the top from Bithu during the show. And if you look, his title is An Apology and Nothing But Respect. So that was the email that I actually got live during the show. He sent that at about 10:25 and I was still live. It was a very nice email. He said, hey, I'm sorry. I apologize. Basically just wanted to bring some points up in attention. Didn't want these certain creators that were being, reckless in their behavior of what they done on the particular subject that we were covering. And then this afternoon, I get a tag, and this was from Mama Ramblings blog. And it said, if you subscribe to Let's Talk Live based on my recommendation last night, I want to let you know I do not support this channel as they blocked me and allowed Natasha Cooper's minions to disrespect and lie about me in the chat. Okay, so I want to just clear that point up. Beyond last night or anything before that, I knew nothing about Natasha Cooper. I knew nothing about Zav Girl. The only thing that I knew about them was the feed in my Twitter feed about this situation that they were involved in. And then I obviously go to Google and I start to research it and I start to look into it because I want to call these people out by what they did wrong. So as far as minions, I'm going to tell you, none of those people were in the chat last night. She said he never acknowledged that I shared his channel on our community page and all who subbed due to that. So I want to address that as well. I never knew that you acknowledged me on your community page. And I never knew that you put me up there and shouted me out. And then she said, he showed me who he was and I do not support this channel and feel bad that you subbed to based on my recommendation. So first of all, I didn't block you. Okay. It was probably one of my mods because after the show, after all this happened, and I went into a backstage live chat with two of my moderators, one of my mods pointed out and said, hey, did you see that Mama Ramblings blog was really upset at you? And I went, no, what's going on? Oh, well, she was upset the fact that you called out creators in the chat room, and for advertising. She got very upset and said something about 40,000 subscribers. And I went, I didn't even notice it. I'm sorry. So you were probably blocked by one of my moderators, because moderators are here to protect us. And you, as someone that has 40,000 subscribers on your channel, should probably know that if you do live streaming, they are there to protect your best interest and protect your chat. And so when someone goes off, I'm sure they probably block some people too. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. Here's my final thought on all of this. Mama Rambling Blogs, I'm acknowledging you. Thank you for calling me out on your channel. I appreciate that. And I apologize. If I have offended you in any way, I apologize. I want to let you know you are unblocked in my chat. So if you want to come over and chat at any time, perfect. If not, you have 40,000 subscribers on your channel. You probably do live streams daily. You probably have a lot of people that enter your chats. To come over and trash someone that has 7,600 subscribers, it's probably not even going to put a dent in what you do on your platform. I'm sure you have an amazing platform. And if you decide to not come back to the Let's Talk Live podcast chat, then I wish you all the best of luck. I seriously mean that. But to go out and attack where you could have maybe emailed me, and my email goes constantly in this chat. So I think it was a very reactionary post that you did. I know that some creators get very sensitive about this stuff. And that's why I said last night that I choose who I want on my panel. I choose who I support. And this is the very reason why I don't have a lot of people on my panel, and I don't call out a lot of channels, because of situations like this, because it just causes a big mess in the end of the day. So that's my response. I apologize. I did not know that you called me out. I have no way of knowing that. I work from 9 a.m. till 8 a.m. in the evening every day. And then I come home and I have a half an hour to get my thoughts together after I've already woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning, gone to the gym and come back and lined up all my tabs for my show to sit for a half an hour, relax, digest from 11 hours, 12 hours of work, and then do my show. So again, I apologize to you. That was not my intention. And again, you're welcome here at the Let's Talk Live podcast. If not, I wish you the best of luck. You're killing it. You have 40,000 subscribers. I only wish I had half of that. So that's going to be it tonight. I do not want anybody to attack her on her channel. I do not want anybody to leave her room comments. We will move on from this. And, hopefully bygones be bygones. If you can't accept that apology, then I don't know what else to tell you. So anyway, I'm going to bring Laura in here. We're going to start the show this evening. I appreciate all of you sitting through that. And we'll move on. So, all right. Laura, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
So, here we are. We're back here. I think it's episode 30. I'm not sure what episode.
I think that may be right.
Yeah, as we relaunch the channel. So let me get a sip of water, and then we're gonna get into the breaking news of this Long Island supposed serial suspect that they have arrested. We'll get into that a little bit. All right. Can we do this?
Let's do this.
Laura, it's really great to have you back. You haven't been back solo with me in a while. I know you've been super busy. I've been super busy. Just trying to keep things constant and killing it here on this channel. You know that. But let's get into a little bit of this. I have an article that I'll bring up from Fox News first, And yeah, this is like breaking news today. And again, I apologize because there's probably been some more news that's been out. I literally just grabbed what I had this morning, and I'm going to kind of run with that. So if there's things that you maybe heard that's in addition to what we talk about, Laura, I would love to get into that. And if so we're going to do probably like half the show this, and then half the show some JonBenet Ramsey as well too. Okay. So let's do this. So Fox News reports at 8:30 this morning, infamous Long Island serial killer suspect behind, am I saying this right? Is it Gilgo?
Gilgo, that's what I've heard.
Beach. Yeah, Gilgo Beach murders in custody official. Arrest comes years after set of human remains found at Gilgo Beach in Long Island, New York. I think they have a video here. We could probably play that, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know if everybody can hear it.
I know I can't hear it.
Okay. I don't think there's any sound.
Maybe there was no
it was a live stream. Okay. All right, we'll move on. We'll go to the article. So police in New York's Long Island arrested suspect Rex. Is it Herman? On Thursday evening, in connection with the I'm gonna lose it tonight. I'm not gonna get these out.
Yep, Hank.
The Gilgo Beach serial killer case, Fox News has confirmed. I'm gonna say Rex because I'm not gonna try to screw his last name up anymore. So Rex is expected to appear in court in, oh my God, Yaphank, New York on Friday afternoon for his arraignment. He was taken into custody last night in Manhattan, according to Suffolk County Police, and investigators are now searching a home in Massapequa? Yep, Massapequa Park in Long Island. They're throwing all the confusing words at me.
Yeah.
At about a 25-minute drive from New York, authorities discovered 11 sets of human remains strewn along a suburban beach highway in 2010 and 2011. Yeah, I remember when this broke, and that was big news back then. So it says from a quote here, I lived in Gilgo Beach, investigated for my entire tenure as county executive, and I can tell you that during that time, the focus of me and the members of our team have been on bringing justice to these victims and closure to the families who have had suffered. I'm gonna just enlarge this a little bit for the. Okay, it says Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone told reporters gathered outside the home Friday in Massapequa Park. Today's development takes us a major step forward in doing exactly that. He said, adding, I want to add the public to know the message to the public is that we have never stopped working on this case. And you have the crime scene corded off here. You can see the state troopers involved. Looks like a crime scene lab processing truck is there as well. So it goes on. Rex is being charged Friday with 3 counts of murder in the first degree of 3 counts of murder and second degree following an arrest in connection with the Gilgo Beach murders, according to court documents. The counts are related to deaths of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Castillo, 3 of the victims found at Gilgo Beach in December of 2010. Fox News confirmed that a large police presence in Massapequa Park is connected to the Gilgo Beach developments. The law enforcement activity has drawn neighbors out of their homes in the suburban village despite the rainy weather and area on Friday morning. Wow, this is crazy. I'm not going to read too much of the article because I do have some videos that we'll pull up, some breaking news videos. So what do you think, Laura? You think this do you think this could possibly be the guy? Or
I mean, I believe they're using DNA to match this.
Sure. I would think so, yeah.
And it says, I know that before each of these 3 women vanished, they each had contact with somebody using a burner phone. And they couldn't trace the burner phones.
Wow.
So, and then after, I know 2 of the victims, after their death, they used cell phones, or the killer used the victim's cell phones.
Wow.
Like, that takes guts.
Yeah, that's guts.
I know there's 3 that they are, I think, really honing in on. That there's another one that they haven't charged him in the death. It was Marine.
There was an Asian male. There was an Asian male that came up.
They were all women except for 2. One was an Asian male and one was a toddler.
Okay.
But then there's also a Marine, Brainerd Barnes, who they're It says he's the prime suspect, but her death investigation is ongoing. And there's another one, Jessica Taylor, I believe, that they're also looking into, but they're trying to connect him to all these murders.
Now, did you say something before I went live about the Baldwin brothers?
Oh, yeah. So
yeah, what's that about?
It turns out CBS News had on today that Billy Baldwin came out.
Yeah, that's Alec Baldwin's brother, if anybody doesn't know who that
Billy's
is.
the youngest of the Baldwin brothers. And they're from that area, I believe. They're everywhere. They know everybody. They say, yeah, they say it's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but we're not, you know, the Baldwin
Maybe
brothers.
It's Billy Baldwin.
He knew Rex Heerman. He went to high school with him, and he, I guess he tweeted it this morning. He went to Massapequa's Burner High School. They graduated together in 1981.
Wow.
He said that Massapequa is in shock.
Wow.
Like they're saying he was described as being quiet, someone who never really bothers anybody.
He's always the quiet ones.
Married father of 2.
Wow.
I'm just looking to see what other things I have written or, you know, here on my computer. Yeah. I mean, he worked in New York City. He had his own firm, RH Consultants and Associates, since 1994. So,
wow.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an architect. He's an architect. He's
and I heard he has houses out here in Massachusetts too, where I am. So that's a little weird. And I'm wondering if there's some cold cases in here that they can, you know, if this guy did do it, I wonder if they find something out here, some Massachusetts cold cases that might have, you know, be involved with this guy. So let's keep this, you know, that open mind. There may be other things that if this is the guy, he could be connected to. So let's do this. I have some videos I want to pull up. Let's hear one of the first press conferences here. This is a short. We'll play this. Let me get the
8:30 p.m. in the vicinity of 35th and 5th Avenue in the city. Members assigned to the Gilgo Beach Task Force, which consisted of numerous detectives and investigators from the Suffolk County Police Department, as well as our partners in the FBI, did place one individual under arrest, transported him back to 30 Yaphank, which is our headquarters, and he's currently
sounds like
custody
nervous,
at this time.
The focus for me, members of our team,
means he's probably excited.
Have been on
for them.
Bringing justice to these victims and closure to these families who have suffered. Today's developments take us a major step forward in doing exactly that.
All right. And then I'm going to pull this up here. I believe this was from Fox News. Let's see. Hang on one second. Where did I have the tab? What evidence? Sorry, my tabs are like tons of tabs open right now. I wish we could just StreamYard, if you're watching this, give creators the ability to just queue all these tabs in the background and we can just pull them up. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier for us because I like to have a seamless show. All right, let's see what I got here. Where is my video that I want? From News Nation. Sorry, I'm really tired tonight.
Well, Jessica Crockett brought up some good things in the chat. They found a body yesterday at Robert Moses Park on Long Island, and that somebody was driving by and saw a skeleton on the side of the road.
Unreal.
And people were wondering if that's why they closed in on him.
All right, let's play this from News Nation. This is this
morning. News Nation anchor Marnie Hughes. You've covered this story extensively for years. As Sloan mentioned, we are still waiting on the first appearance, a press conference later this afternoon. What are you hoping to hear from investigators?
Brooke, it's really interesting because, you know, as you and I were talking in the commercial break a moment ago, we covered this case
I'm aware
a
of the
year
affidavit.
or more ago because it
I'm
was
not
back
read
in the
32 pages
headlines.
tonight.
There was a new commissioner in charge, said, we're going to take another look at this case. It has been more than a decade with unanswered questions, and these murders have gone unsolved. We can get to the police corruption allegations in a moment, but this is a huge development and some really chilling details as I spoke to the attorney who represents course, both the families of Shannon Gilbert and Jessica Taylor. These are two of the victims who were found on Gilgo Beach. As Sloan just mentioned, this is a well-known architect who they've taken into custody. He's 59 years old, Rex Hoyerman. As Sloan mentioned, he owns properties not just in Long Island, but also in Massachusetts. And the attorney telling me not only does he own properties, he called these seedy, modest properties. So you can draw your own conclusions to what that means. He also said that he works for a not-for-profit organization that works with victims of domestic abuse or of domestic violence, which just makes the hair on your arm stand up. The attorney tells me he thinks he will be charged, and we'll hear this later today, in connection with 4 of the women's deaths. And those are the women whose bodies were found covered in burlap along this beach all those years ago. They were along the Ocean Parkway. The other very curious piece of information that he shared with me in the last hour is that there were remains of possibly a man that were found as soon as yesterday in this same area. So new remains discovered. This again, according to the attorney, John Ray. So we're working to independently confirm that with police. But remains discovered yesterday at the causeway to Gilgo Beach, or near the causeway, and he said these were, quote, unusual circumstances in which these remains were found. So he brought up the question whether or not the remains found yesterday were the final link to make an arrest last night or early this morning of Rex Hoyerman. We don't know that yet, but it is very curious and peculiar, the timing of those remains being found.
Right. What was the tipping point here?
Exactly.
That finally got him in custody. I do want to talk about the victims, though, here. We're talking about 10 or 11 bodies that we know of at this point. Most of them were known sex workers. And so there's been some criticism that maybe this case didn't get the attention that these victims deserved.
Right, because they had a checkered past. Their families immediately said, police aren't.
I wonder why this individual, this suspect, if this, the person that did this, used that particular stretch of road, because look how close all the bodies were.
Yeah.
So there was something about that specific area that he liked to dump, victims. Maybe it was I had heard, I think I remember hearing that down there was a lot of deep overbrush down there. So it made for an area, and I could be wrong on this, it made for an area, for someone, if they, that did this, would be easy, I guess, hiding spots or something like that. But it's just very interesting. Look at how close everybody was found. It's crazy.
Yeah. Detective John said, do we have any intel on the female victims? Mostly just that they were sex workers.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to see.
The thing that's very disturbing is the toddler, obviously. And then, we have this Asian male that seems a little bit out of character of what's going on here, but it's so close to where all this is. I mean, it's got to be connected in some way. And then if you look at where the toddler was found in Jane Doe, I'm probably going to say
Jessica said that they call that Jane Doe, I believe, Peaches, and that toddler, I guess, is Jane Doe's child.
Oh, Jesus.
Jessica, can you comment? Is that, it's way up in the chat. It's crazy. Yeah, Kelly D. Yeah, that PCA is very lengthy. I mean, I'll definitely be checking it out this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a show on it.
Katie,
maybe
I don't know if this is. Katie says the Asian male was dressed in women's clothing.
Okay, so definitely some type of maybe cross-dressing or something like that going on. Sure. Yeah. And
Jessica Crockett said yes. So the toddler is, I guess, related to Jane Doe.
So John's asked, that's a secluded area off the main road. Yes. Very indicative of a John taking prostitutes to the same area to do sexual acts. Absolutely. That's the first thing I thought right away too, when this was all going on. But I remember this, I have friends that live down in that area and they just always talked about it all the time, like how shocking it was. And I remember my mom actually going over to Long Island for like a summer tour thing to go see like all the famous houses or whatever, and the guy that took my mom around was like, yeah, everybody's been really worried about here, and was telling her about it, that they've been finding people out on this stretch of beach, and it's been really crazy. So
yeah, I have a couple friends that live out on Long Island as well, and they never expected anything like this to happen.
Yeah, it's really sad. All right, let's play through the rest of this, and then we'll move on to a couple of the videos and try to get caught up.
Aren't taking this seriously. They're not investigating as they would another case. And so that was a criticism early on. But Brooke, as this case started to get down the road, right, years down the road, the criticism then shifted to the Suffolk County Police Chief at the time. His name was James Burke. And there were allegations of corruption. There were allegations that the investigation wasn't moving forward, that they weren't staying on the case. And then there was a situation where he was accused of assaulting a man who stole a bag out of his car that they thought was evidence in the case. That led to his conviction on conspiracy. So at that point, the investigation stalled, and there were a lot of questions about police corruption. So fast forward to 2018, you've got Geraldine Hart, who is now the police commissioner of Suffolk County, and she's from this area. She says, I know this case. I grew up here. This is important for me to solve. She held a press conference as early as this year in January, talking about new developments and DNA analysis in this case.
It's funny. It's saying here, you know, serial killer hiding in plain sight for 13 years. Did you hear of the guy in Florida that just got caught after 40 years?
Oh, and his daughter came true, and she was like, wait, I have a sister? Wait, I have this? What?
It was down in Florida. They arrested the guy, and then at the bond hearing, the judge obviously put him away in jail without bond, and he literally started crying like, dude, what do you think, bro? Like, you murdered someone. You know, what do you think that she was gonna do? Let you out? And he was like begging to let him out until his court dates. Like, what?
It's not only linking the victims, but trying to link them to a suspect. So I would not be surprised if her refocus on the case and lifting some of the restrictions on DNA evidence led to where we are today. There is a lot that we still don't know, but I would say this is a giant sigh of relief for the families, for the people who have lived in fear for the last 10 years that there was a serial killer on the loose. They allegedly have the suspect in custody now. I'm looking to learn a lot about what evidence specifically led to his arrest in the last 24 hours.
And again, you mentioned you talked to the attorney for the families of a couple of these victims involved here. What are they saying? I mean, like you said, likely a sigh of relief, but what are they hoping to hear from police?
Answers, closure. They're relieved, and they're just thankful that the case is not over, right? That it's being investigated.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation.
All right. Let's pull up another one here.
Detective John mentioned about the MO for the victims. I'm finding that one they thought was drowned, but they were looking at strangulation. It's so much out here.
Let's play this while you look into it.
Murphy joining us on the phone, who has been on this story since day one.
From
and Mary, you just heard from
11.com
in the neighborhood talking about this individual who is a father of two daughters, a family man there living in that middle of that community. What else do you know as we are approaching 9:10 this morning with these breaking details?
Well, Kirsten just said his age, if indeed this is the suspect, and he did live in that house, and there was a suspect brought out of the house early this morning. So the pieces all seem to align. The suspect has been brought out to Riverhead Criminal Court, where there will be an indictment that's unsealed later today, followed by a press conference. I am told that within a month of starting the task force with the Suffolk Police Department.
Does that guy look like a cop or what? The mustache and everything.
Within a month,
that's cool.
This suspect was identified. And then, of course, you got to put all the pieces together.
Right.
And as we talked about in the last hour, the pings from the phone were crucial in this case. A lot of phone analysis.
Gee, I wonder where we're going to hear that type of information, Laura, when this goes to trial, or where we've heard a lot of that information in a specific case.
Right.
I'm sure they're going to talk about DNA evidence and touch DNA as well, Laura.
Right.
This has been done along with DNA analysis.
Oh, wow.
Me and what we
she said DNA.
Was that a ping came from one victim's phone near Penn Station, where the suspected killer called one victim's sister and taunted her about what he had done to her sister. Now, that ping also was near a Long Island Railroad station in Massapequa, and now we find out this morning the suspect in the Long Island serial killer case, the Gilgo Beach investigation, he lives in Massapequa Park, a married father of two, according to Kristen. And we
look who's here. It's Christine Brown.
Hi, Christine.
Wow, look who it is. Wow. Good to see you.
We'll find out a lot more.
We were just
during
talking
the
about you the
hearing,
other night,
because I believe
in a
lot of
good way.
details will be
Ask where
released
you've
in
been.
court. But Massapequa was
Hopefully
always at the center of
everything's
this
all right.
investigation, according to one senior law enforcement source. And Midtown was always at the center of this. And Kirsten mentioned Commissioner Harrison. We had interviewed him when he first came into office in Suffolk County after leaving a long career in the NYPD, and he vowed, we are going to solve this case, no stone unturned.
Mary, I want to talk to you about the victims.
So did she say he called one of the victim's sisters and then bragged about what he did?
Well, I read that he used the cell phones. Like, take it back like just a tiny bit.
Yeah, let's hear that again. I don't think it's going to be a tiny bit. We'll go back.
Suspect was identified. And then, of course, you got to put all the pieces together. And as we talked about in the last hour, the pings from the phone were crucial in this case. A lot of phone analysis has been done along with DNA analysis. But what always fascinated me and what we reported on a long time ago was that a ping came from one victim's phone near Penn Station, where the suspected killer called one victim's sister and taunted her about what he had done to her sister. Now, that ping also was near a Long Island Railroad station in Massapequa, and now we find out this morning the suspect in the Long Island serial killer case, the Gilgo Beach investigation, he lives in Massapequa Park, a married father of two, according to Kirsten. And we will find out a lot more during the bail hearing, because I believe a lot of details will be released in court. But Massapequa was always at the center of this investigation, according to one senior law enforcement source. And Midtown was always at the center of this. And Kirsten mentioned Commissioner Harrison. We had interviewed him when he first came into office in Suffolk County after leaving a long career in the NYPD, and he vowed, we are going to solve this case, no stone unturned.
Mary, I want to talk to you about the victims who you've talked to for over 20 years at this point. Tell us what they've gone through, and have you reached out to any of the victims or their attorneys this morning so far, and what have you heard?
Well, I am going to be reaching out to some of the sisters of the victims. I haven't spoken.
This is a great reporter, by the way. This is an excellent reporter. Mary Murphy, you're killing it right now. This is absolutely amazing journalism right here. Her flow, her gathering of facts, her information is clear and concise. I've learned more and refreshed my brain in the last, 2 minutes that she's been speaking. Excellent reporting, Mary Murphy.
To them yet, but they would keep in touch with me anytime there would be a development. They wanted to know if I felt they were closer to making an arrest, the police. You know, a lot of things have happened in the last few years. You mentioned the release of the 911 tape, Shannon Gilbert. If Shannon Gilbert had not disappeared, this case may never have.
Laura, we got to do more streams on this. This is a fascinating case.
It's huge.
We're digging into this. This is really, really fascinating. We got to get into this.
Up. Because she disappeared, because a dog, a canine dog, found 4 sets of remains in the brush in December of 2010. That's what started this whole thing. The first 4 remains, most of them were wrapped in burlap, and the victims were intact. Their names were Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Megan Costello, Amber Costello.
I remember seeing her face. And I remember seeing this girl too.
But other victims were dismembered. Some of them were just only identified in the last couple of years. A woman named Valerie Mack, her torso was found out in Manorville 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. And it wasn't until last year, a couple of years ago, that she was identified through genetic genealogy, familial genealogy, one of those ancestry sites linked the remains to.
Gee, Laura, we've heard that in a certain case too, right?
Absolutely.
Jeez.
You know, if all I'm gonna say is if me personally uploading my DNA to an ancestry site would link to a family member of mine that was, you know, involved in something, you know, malicious, then they deserve it. That's all I have to say about, you know, the DNA stuff. I wanted to know about, you know, what nationalities I was, you know, and if there's any relatives I didn't know about, which actually that did come out in my family. Maybe we should do a live stream about how DNA found me a new aunt.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, it was about a month after my mom's death that I got reached out.
Sorry about your mom.
That's all right. It's been a while. But yeah, a month after my mom died, I got a message from a lady saying, "Hey, we're related somehow." And yeah.
Wow.
It was a crazy situation. I thought it was like a scammer, of course. That's where my first, I'm always thinking somebody's up to something. That's just my personality. But I'm just reading about the different victims and you know, some of the victims here were living in Manhattan. And now we all think, oh, New York City, New York, whatever. It's not close. But I mean, how do you go from Manhattan to Gilgo Beach? So where's the connection? If you were a worker in Manhattan, regardless of what you're doing, how do you end up dead out in Long Island on a beach?
Yeah.
Something else, they said that the phone calls that were made from the victims' phones that were called into, I believe, the sister. There were two instances. There was a sister that was called and a friend that was called about taunting them.
Yeah.
Was made from Midtown Manhattan. And it turns out that Rex Heuermann's business, RH Consulting and Associates, guess where that's located?
Right there in Midtown Manhattan.
It's actually like a couple blocks south of Bryant Park. It's really between Macy's and the Chrysler Building. If you drew a straight line between Macy's and the Chrysler Building, you would run into the building where his business is. So it's right there in Midtown. So, I mean, okay, we'll go with it for now.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's finish through the rest of this video. I do want to get on to JonBenet Ramsey because I don't want to do a super long show this evening, but we'll get on to that. And then probably what we're going to do is Laura and I are going to probably do some digging into this and do a couple more streams on this because this is really fascinating me now. Now kind of refreshing my brain about it and really digging in and learning, you know, more about this. It's truly fascinating. The thing that I love, the parallel between the two, because obviously we're covering the Brian Kohberger case, and you're hearing a lot of those same tactics that are coming up in this case as well. Cell phone data, pings, DNA, touch, you know, I'm sure there's probably going to be touch DNA. We heard about the familyology I probably said that wrong, DNA. So we're hearing a lot of those same methods and ways to discover in the Brian Kohberger case. So I think this would be really interesting to go into that. I cannot believe if this is the person that did it, that actually called from a cell phone of the decedent to the sister and taunted them. That's unworldly. I've never even heard of anything like that.
That takes balls.
Yeah. All right, let's keep playing through this, and then we're going to move on to my voice cracked. Move on to JonBenet Ramsey.
A woman upstate who was a relative. There was a belt that Kirsten mentioned that the killer may have handled. So the victims are different ages, obviously. The youngest is a toddler. And she was found near a man who was dressed in women's clothing, another unidentified victim he was found close to the toddler. But the toddler's mother is also considered a victim. Her nickname was Peaches. She was found at the other end of Ocean Parkway, and parts of her body were found in Hempstead Lake State Park. So the victims have been found, parts of the victims all the way out to Manorville, 40 miles from Gilgo Beach, and some of them have been found near Jones Beach, some body parts found near Davis Park, Fire Island.
Yeah.
So it's a crime scene that extends a long way.
It is a very large swath of Long Island that we're talking about here. But in particular, Mary, those 4 that you're mentioning and Shannon Gilbert, that tied back to Gilgo and Oak Beaches, right? And just for those who aren't familiar with the geography of Long Island, right? Massapequa Park, not at all far from Oak Beach and Gilgo Beach. It's really just across a bay, right?
Yeah, it's very close, South Shore of Long Island, and you can travel from Ocean Park.
So the thing that I like about this particular station, Pix 11, is that they're New York based and they're right there in New York. So they're going to have a deeper perspective than like News Nation or Fox News.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm telling you, this reporter is killing it right now. Her journalism is like spot on. So really, really great stuff here.
And get into Gilgo Beach, Oak Beach from Massapequa.
She knows
very
this
close
case.
to the Suffolk County border, Massapequa Park. So it was always said that the killer had to be familiar with the geography of Long Island, and it seems that this person was. It's going to be very interesting to hear what comes out in court, but bears repeating that the phones were a big part of this, extensive phone analysis. Although the killer, I'm told, used a burner phone. He was very careful in most cases not to be.
I wonder if we'll have one of those in the BK case.
Traceable. However, he allegedly
Just
used
saying,
one victim's
allegedly.
phone to taunt her family, and that could have played a big role in ultimately solving this case.
Excuse me.
Mary, I'd love to know, based on your expertise, what do you make of this? This man was living among the community right under investigation.
Laura, can you pull up a map of that area and see if how far Orient Point is from there? Because I've been down in that area before.
Orient Point?
Orient Point. I wonder how far that is from Orient Point.
There's noses.
Yeah, give me one
and
second.
has been sought after for the past 3 decades.
Because I've
What do
driven
you
from
think of the
Orient Point
description
to
of him
Long
being
Island
a
before.
family man, having 2 kids, married, living in Massapequa Park, a well-to-do area, and involved in the community?
Well, I'm not surprised because these things have happened before. We had the serial killer in California who was a former police officer. He wasn't found until he was in his 70s, and that was with the help of genetic genealogy. That has become so important in solving a number of these serial killer cases, and I will be interested to hear
Strange,
if
huh?
it played a role
Genetic
in this
genealogy.
case.
Have we heard that?
It's not surprising. I don't think the profile is really that unusual. I would think that the people that were looking into this case thought it might be a white male, possibly married.
Usually is.
There was another person they looked at. I mentioned this in the last hour, JonBenet. He was a carpenter in Manorville, and he was accused in 2 early 90s murders of sex workers, and they were posed in a certain position. Both of them were missing their left shoe. It seemed ritualistic almost, but it seems like Bitroff is not the suspect. I should mention, in the course of looking at this case, which really started for me at the end of 2010, when they discovered
She's
the 4
locked in,
women,
man.
on Ocean Parkway. During the course of this investigation, we've gone to Atlantic City because there were 4 sex workers that were found there behind a motel, and they were all positioned facing the boardwalk in Atlantic City where all the casinos are. So there was talk that maybe the killer had been involved in their deaths. So there's a lot, obviously, to unpack, but I believe we will start getting a lot of answers in court, and then, of course, we'll continue investigating.
Mary, on a personal level, I just want to know, what does this development feel like you? Because for most of our longtime viewers, they know that you've covered this story for over 2 decades, and you've been with the victims' families along the way. You've followed every development here of every possible suspect. So knowing that an arrest has been made in connection with this case, what does that development mean to you?
Well, it's just kind of like I was stunned this morning because I spoke to someone high-ranking yesterday about a missing person, and I asked about Gilgo, and I was told that, genetic genealogy was being utilized to identify victims, never thinking an arrest was going to come the next morning, early in the morning.
Wow.
In terms of Shannon Gilbert,
see that brush?
so much has happened in that
That's
case.
everywhere on Long
Her
Island.
mother was killed by another sister of Shannon's. So a lot of sadness associated with this case. Mary Gilbert was often out on Ocean Parkway with her other daughters and other family members of victims, demanding that these women be treated with dignity and that answers come in this investigation.
Wow. I'm going to tell you right now, any major news organization, that is the reporter that I would have on and report this case, because she is locked and loaded on this and really knows what's going on.
Yeah, so Orient Point is at the about the northeasternmost point of Long Island.
Okay.
This is about an hour and a half. It's like 80
From New York
miles.
City.
80 miles southwest.
Okay.
Of Orient Point. So
I was just curious.
Yeah, Long Island's bigger than we think.
Right. Okay, well, we will continue to lay some eyes on this case. Obviously, I want to come back when we look into a little bit more and do another stream about this, because I think it is important. I think it's going to be an extremely interesting case to follow, and it gives us a little bit different off content than Idaho. So I would really lock in on this. This is going to be very interesting what comes out of this, and I'm just I want to look over the PCA. Maybe we can do that on a stream and run through it and discover, how they put all this together and finally put it all together to start getting some closure if this is the person that's responsible for it. So
they already shut his About Us part down on his website.
Got it.
So you can't even read about him on there.
All right. Well, we'll look into this. So let's get into JonBenet Ramsey. What I want to do first is, anybody's not familiar, let's how I always like to go back first. I got an 8-minute video here that's going to review the case a little bit, and I want to give a shout out to this channel. It's called Unbelievable Murders. It's a small channel, but this person on this channel creates some really great videos, and I'm going to encourage everybody to go over and sub to that channel. He's not very active, but the stuff that he does put together is really good. And let's play through this here. I hope they don't mind.
Today, we're going to talk about one of the most shocking and baffling murder cases in recent history, the JonBenet Ramsey case. The murder of the 6-year-old beauty queen shook the nation and captivated the world's attention. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the JonBenet Ramsey case, exploring the details of the
y'all want to go over and support this channel. There's the link there. You can go over and support this channel.
Murder, the investigation that followed, and the breakthroughs that eventually led to the arrest and conviction of a suspect. Let's get started.
And that perfect smile are instantly recognizable. It's JonBenet Ramsey, the 6-year-old beauty pageant princess, murdered in her own home.
JonBenet Ramsey's murder was a shocking and brutal crime that has remained unsolved for over 2 decades. The young beauty pageant queen was found dead in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado on December 26, 1996. The autopsy revealed that she had been strangled with a garrote, which was made from a cord and the broken handle of a paintbrush found nearby. In addition, JonBenet had suffered a severe blow to the head, which had caused a skull fracture. The nature of JonBenet's injuries suggested that her murder was a premeditated act of violence, and there was also evidence that she had been sexually assaulted. Her body was found with duct tape over her mouth and her hands tied behind her back. The crime scene wasn't secured properly, and there was evidence that had been contaminated or destroyed. The police initially focused on the Ramsey family as suspects, which resulted in a number of missteps and false leads. The circumstances of JonBenet's murder have led to a number of theories and speculations about what happened that night, including accusations against her parents and speculation about the involvement of intruders or someone with a grudge against the family. Despite extensive investigations and the involvement of multiple agencies, the case remains unsolved and the killer has not been brought to justice. The investigation into JonBenet Ramsey's murder was one of the most complicated and controversial in American history.
On Boxing Day 1996, she was found in the basement of her home, beaten and strangled to death.
Wow.
JonBenet Ramsey.
The JonBenet's murder.
JonBenet Ramsey. The Boulder Police Department faced a number of challenges from the outset, including the fact that the crime scene wasn't secured properly and there was evidence that had been contaminated or destroyed. The police also made a number of errors in the early stages of their investigation, including...
I remember this case being all over the place, Laura, like People Magazine, Time Magazine. It made the page everywhere.
Allowing family and friends to enter the crime scene and failing to thoroughly search the home. The police initially focused on the Ramsey family as suspects, which resulted in a number of missteps and false leads. The Ramseys were criticized for their behavior following JonBenet's death, including their decision to hire a PR team and their reluctance to cooperate fully with the police. The police also faced criticism for their handling of the case, including their failure to secure the crime scene and their over-reliance on forensic evidence. Despite extensive investigations and the involvement of multiple agencies, the case remained unsolved for more than 2 decades. In 2016, the Boulder Police Department announced that they had new evidence that could help solve the case. The evidence was collected from JonBenet's clothing and pointed to an unknown male suspect. The DNA profile was entered into a national database, but there were no matches at the time. However, in 2018, the police received a hit on the database, which...
So this is the person that we're going to talk about.
Yep.
So in 2018, Gary Oliva was a hit in the DNA match. And this is going to be very interesting as we get to the next part of this presentation.
Which led them to a suspect, Gary Oliva. In 2018, the Boulder Police Department announced that they had a breakthrough in the JonBenet Ramsey case. They had received a hit on a national DNA database, which led them to a suspect, Gary Oliva.
52-year-old Gary Oliva after getting a cyber tip.
It looked like somebody was getting pornography materials related to children to an address that investigators were able to link to Mr. Oliva.
Oliva was a convicted pedophile who had been arrested in 2016 on unrelated charges. The police had found child pornography on his computer, and they believed that he was responsible for JonBenet's murder. Oliva had been on the police radar for years, and there was evidence that he had been in Boulder around the time of the murder. He had also written a number of disturbing letters, including one in which he confessed to the crime. The police had interviewed him multiple times over the years, but they had never been able to charge him with the murder. With the new DNA evidence, the police were finally able to build a case against Oliva. They obtained a search warrant for his home and found evidence that linked him to the murder.
Wow.
Oliva was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual assault. He pleaded non-guilty to the charges and is currently awaiting trial. The arrest of Oliva was a significant development in the JonBenet Ramsey case, and it gave hope to those that had been following the investigation for years. However, it's important to note that the case is still ongoing, and there's no guarantee that Oliva will be convicted of the crimes. The Ramsey family has also expressed criticism about the arrest, and they continue to believe that an intruder was responsible for JonBenet's murder.
The murder of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey captivated the nation and put her family under the microscope, with many speculating that her father, mother, brother, or all three were involved in her killing.
After a lengthy investigation, the police initially focused on JonBenet's parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, as the primary suspects in their daughter's murder. However, DNA evidence later cleared them of any involvement. The investigation then took a new turn, and the authorities began to look into other possible suspects, including family, friends, and acquaintances.
Oh, yeah.
In 2006, a new district attorney took over the case and ordered DNA testing on items found at the crime scene, which eventually led to a breakthrough. In 2016, a DNA profile was developed that pointed to a male suspect who hadn't been previously investigated. This led to the arrest of a man named Gary Oliva, who had a history of violence and sexual assault. However, Oliva was later cleared of any involvement in JonBenet's murder, and the case remains unsolved to this day. In conclusion, the murder of JonBenet Ramsey was a shocking and tragic event that captured the attention of the world. Despite decades of investigation, the case remained unsolved until a breakthrough in 2018 led to the arrest of Gary Oliva. The investigation into JonBenet's murder was marked by controversy and criticism, with the police and the Ramsey family both coming under scrutiny for their actions. However, the new DNA evidence has provided a glimmer of hope that justice may finally be served.
It's like madness. But at the time, we were so crushed by the loss of our child that it didn't matter.
John and Patsy Ramsey were never charged with the crime, but were nonetheless skewered in the
I remember that Larry King interview.
While the arrest of Gary Oliva is a significant development, it's important to remember that the case is still ongoing. There's still much that we don't know about what happened to JonBenet, and it's possible that more evidence may come to light in the future. The murder of JonBenet Ramsey is a tragic reminder of the importance of justice and the need to find closure for victims and their families. It's our hope that the resolution of this case will bring some measure of peace to all those who have been affected by the senseless act of violence. And that concludes our video on the JonBenet Ramsey case, one of the most perplexing murder mysteries of our time.
Really?
Despite years of
I told
investigation
Jason.
and countless
Well, we
leads,
know what
the
happened there.
case remains unsolved to this day. It's a tragic reminder that there are still many cases out there that have yet to be solved, and it's up to all of us to keep pushing for justice and answers. Thanks a lot for watching, you guys. If you found this video informative, then do be sure to hit that like button and share it with your
Yeah, go over and give Unbelievable Murders a little bit of rub there. He's making some good videos. I thought that was very informative, right to the facts. And hey, you know, he's a small creator, and if we can help him out over there, I would appreciate it. And let's do that. So I'm sitting there and I see something come up, and I'm reading through the Sun the other day, and this article comes out about this person. So July 12th, 2023, chilling pinboard pedo who's confessed to killing JonBenet Ramsey had creepiest Pinterest with hundreds of pictures of her and other children. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little bit of the article, but then they actually have the reporter that came on Court TV, and we'll listen to that segment, and that should take us right out to the end of the show. And obviously we can talk a little bit in between that while we watch the video. So Gary Oliva, the 59-year-old convicted pedo with a violent criminal past, was arrested in June 2016 for being found in possession of hundreds of images of CP in Boulder, Colorado. And you can see here, this is a photo from his Pinterest account. And see this, he's got JonBenet and all these, there's blurred out some photos. It says children, JonBenet, mostly cats. You're going to go on to, he was issued an undetermined sentence of at least 10 years and will only be released if he passes the state's SO rehabilitation program. In 2 decades before his arrest, Oliva was considered a suspect in the killings of JonBenet, a 60-year-old pageant queen who was found brutally murdered in her parents' basement on December 26, 1996. At the time of the girl's infamous murder, Oliva had ties to an address just 13 homes from Ramsey's and made phone calls hours after her body was found, crying to a friend, "I hurt a little girl." I'm not going to read the whole article. If you all want to read that, you can. But I want to actually get to the reporter that wrote this article, and he has a lot to say about it here. So it's just a little bit easier to hear from the reporter's mouth. We're going to bring up that video, and that should take us right out to the end of this presentation or this show for the evening. So let's play here.
This hour with the notion that no parent should ever have to bury a child. It's awful. When I was in high school, a good friend of mine, his brother passed away. I went to that funeral. First time I was in a scenario like this. And I can never, ever forget the excruciating pain for my friend's mom that day at that funeral. It was something that was etched into my brain forever.
Yeah.
And no matter what the circumstances are surrounding the death, it is unbearable, and it becomes something you carry for the rest of your life. Not easy to deal with. Not at all. Now, when we talk about cases involving foul play and murder investigations, homicide investigations, what every victim and victim's family deserves is a full, competent investigation.
That's right.
Now, we know some cases slip through the cracks. We know sometimes there are victims that don't have a family member there.
Yep, she did.
You know, reminding everyone about who they are. And sometimes those cases go cold and no one pays attention to them. And that's unfortunate because every single victim and every family of every victim deserves a full, competent investigation. Then there are other cases, like the case of JonBenet. I mean, this was the biggest case in the nation. But why is it still unsolved today? 26 years later, why? How could this one not be solved? I'll tell you what, JonBenet's dad, John, he wants some answers. He hasn't forgotten. He carries that with him every single day. We're going to speak to him in just a moment.
I got the wrong video, Laura.
Oh.
Let me see if I can find the right one. I apologize, everyone. I got the wrong damn video. Where is it? Damn it. Sorry. Hey, hosts mess up sometimes too. I can't be perfect all the time. Oh, crap. Let me see if I can find this. Where is it? I got it. I got it. I found it. I found it.
Here we go.
I got it. I promise. I got it. I screwed up. All right, here we go.
JonBenet Ramsey was found dead, strangled in the basement of that home. Wasn't kidnapped. This case
actually kind of sounds like I just segued into this. That was a good pause.
Yeah.
Still never solved. No one's been held responsible since 1996, but some huge developments tonight we want to talk about. Let's bring in our special guest joining us in New York, senior reporter for the U.S. Sun, Luke Kenton is with us. Luke, great to see you. Thanks so much. Read your article. Wow. Let's talk about this development. It's a man named Gary Oliva. Gary Oliva, tell us what you found out about him, what his link is to JonBenet Ramsey.
Yeah, so Gary Oliva, first and foremost, is not a good guy. The story involving Gary kind of begins on the 27th of December 1996, when he was reported to Boulder police, because basically the night before, he'd called an old high school friend back in California, who he said through tears and could barely catch his breath, "I've just hurt a little girl." So this was on the night that JonBenet's body was, a few hours after JonBenet's body was found on December 26th. He was crying that he'd hurt a little girl in Boulder, and he hung up the phone. Now his friend that was on the other end of the phone didn't know really what to make of that call, was obviously concerned, but couldn't get any information out of him. It wasn't until the next day that he went on the front porch, picked up the newspaper, and saw the news that a 6-year-old girl had been killed in Boulder, Colorado. He immediately calls the Boulder Police Department, reports the call from the day before, and then 3 months pass. He doesn't hear anything, and he calls the tip line again, reports it to Boulder Police, doesn't hear anything again. Fast forward 19 years later, Gary Oliva is in prison for child pornography offenses and confesses in a series of letters to the same person that he called that night, claiming to have killed JonBenet by accident.
This is unbelievable. I mean, this is did police ever talk to this man in California? I mean, he is claiming to have gotten a call before this story is even in the news from this guy.
Yeah, so hours before it, made headlines across the country, he said, "I've hurt a little girl," and he's in Boulder. And bearing in mind at the time, this guy was was associated with a property about 13 houses away. He was getting his mail from a church, 13 houses away from the Ramsey family. And the tip, like I said, wasn't followed up upon immediately by Boulder police. At the time, they were zeroing on either Patsy or John Ramsey being responsible for JonBenet's death. It wasn't actually until 4 years later when he was arrested on the campus of the University of Colorado in Boulder, with pictures of JonBenet in his bag, a poem that he'd written to JonBenet called Ode to JonBenet, and he was also found with a stun gun, and that was kind of a crucial development for investigators because over the course of their investigation, after the first few months, they kind of theorized that perhaps that she was subdued with the stun gun prior to her death. So that's when police started looking at Gary, which was 4 years later.
Yet nothing seemed to come of it all. Was he, and my understanding, there's a photo of him or images of him at a vigil for JonBenet as well?
Wow. What?
Yeah, that's right. So this vigil took place on the year anniversary of her death. So that was on Christmas night, I believe that was held, a short distance away from the Ramseys' home. And that picture that we published was actually taken by private investigators hired by John Ramsey, who were investigating Gary at that time, believing him to be a very credible suspect and certainly somebody that's capable of committing such a horrific act. The Boulder police wouldn't look at Gary for another 3 years after that.
Unbelievable. One final question. How specific were the details in these letters, these alleged confession letters?
Yeah, so the confession letters were written in and around 2019. There's roughly a dozen of them. One of them I can read you here. I've got it written down below me here. It says, I never loved anyone like I did JonBenet, yet I let her slip and her head bashed in half and I watched her die. It was an accident, please believe me.
That's nice.
So he's claiming that he killed JonBenet by accident. Whether or not you can take that at face value, who knows? That's for Boulder police to investigate. They did acknowledge the confession letters when they were first published in 2019, but seemed to kind of brush them under the carpet. They said, we've heard this guy confess before and we've looked into it. There's no further updates in this case. But I think, certainly he's a character that John Ramsey was particularly interested in. I think he's certainly somebody that's worth having a second look at.
Absolutely. Luke Kenton,
wow.
U.S.
Good
Sun.
reporting.
Great job. Thanks so much, Luke. Appreciate it.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's a couple of things you got to look at here, Laura. Okay. Obviously this guy has pedo ties. They've caught him with, pedo material. Obviously, a very sick and deranged individual. But do you think that this could be because didn't they have a guy before that came out, John something, and said that he was involved in doing it, and then come to find out he wasn't actually involved, but he just wanted the notoriety of it? And I remember them actually arresting him. I think his name was John. Maybe the chat knows.
John Mark Carr.
John Mark Carr, right. And he came out and confessed, but then come to find out he had nothing to do with it at all. He just wanted the notoriety. So, do you start thinking just because this guy maybe was we know he's a pedo, was he, became obsessed with her when he started seeing the photos, obviously started doing, research or whatever, and then became, sexually, obsessed with her. Could this just be one of those cases that he just looking for notoriety in this, or do you think there could be something here? I mean, they had a DNA hit, correct?
It appears so. So could they have been that myopic at the beginning and not really looked into many things?
Sure.
Or could they have,
Carla's even saying it too. Matched at the scene, so yeah.
But when he said it was an accident and he bashed her head, I mean, he didn't say anything about the garage at that point.
Right. Yeah.
It's
interesting.
We'll find out more, I'm sure soon. I mean, they focus so much on the family. The part that I'm hung up on most with this case is the amount that they asked for in the ransom letter, which was, I guess, the amount of John Ramsey's bonus that Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was how would somebody make multiple drafts of a ransom note? And you know what I mean? There had to have been time. Could he have done it? Yes. Could there have been somebody else involved? Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Could, the parents have freaked out? And who knows? I mean, I hope the truth
could they have allegedly found out who this guy was and paid him, or to do it? I don't know. It's just very weird. It's weird.
Very weird. Very weird.
And again, we're just allegedly throwing some stuff out there, some thoughts, and like Laura said, I think there's going to be more that comes about this. I just want to address Pithu, Byte Reloaded. If you just pop in the chat, I would suggest when this stream ends, go back and watch the first 15 minutes of this video. So I don't know, Laura. I think what were you gonna say?
One Solved Mystery said John's Christmas bonus of $118,117.50 was from 1995. It was issued in February of 96 and on all of his pay stubs throughout 96. So So it could have been somebody that got access to his pay stubs, which if he had one laying around the house,
trash,
who
garbage.
knows?
Right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and Bethea's Bite Reloaded said that how many times have they thought that Brother Burke had to do with JonBenet's death? I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean,
They did that Dr. Phil show on it, and it was compelling. I mean, it gripped me.
I mean, it didn't look good for the brother. Burke really didn't look good from that video. I don't know. I mean, we don't know a lot about Burke Ramsey.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know what he's up to now.
Yeah, I don't even know. Kelly D says garbology. Yeah, DJ's favorite thing, garbology. So yeah, Laura, I just wanted to come on. I'm not going to stay too much longer here. I'm very tired this evening. I want to do a short show and, just give some highlights here. We had that breaking news in the Long Island serial killer. That's definitely a case that, I love to dive into. If you want to do that with me, we'll do some shows on it. Tomorrow night, I think I'm going to bounce back and do an Idaho show tomorrow night. And just bring to light. There's been some new documents that have dumped. We know we have a pause in the demolition of the house that I'd like to get into and just talk a little bit about Idaho. So I don't know, Laura, are you around tomorrow? Would you want to come on?
I should be. I should be.
And then maybe if DJ's around, Detective John, we can get him to come on and hang out with us as well. And if Tanya's in the chat, we'll have her pop on and we'll do a little show. So I will post the thumbnail probably tomorrow when I have time to work on it, because I have actually a short day at work tomorrow. I do have to work at night, but I have a short day. So in the morning, I'll be working on the channel a little bit. I may do a members only in the morning just to catch everybody up. And that's really it. I don't know. Any parting words, Laura?
Some new cases to follow.
Some new cases to follow. We love talking about new cases. So I want to thank everybody this evening for hanging out. I know it wasn't an Idaho show. When they say Idaho, or if it's anything that's drama related, people come. But I appreciate the fact that everybody came in on this Friday night. We got close to almost 100 people up there, and that's great, because if I have 5 people in the chat, and I can just get at least some news out to them and have them, maybe learn something, or a new case they can follow, or some new leads. It's always what we try to do here. So let's see. Detective John says, I'm also tired. Going to be up early and buy another boat. You need to come down and take a ride on Ponce Inlet. Dolphins everywhere. Yeah, man, I'm coming down there. Fuck yeah, I'm coming. We'll plan for it next year, probably in the spring when I get some time. And yeah, man, we'll do a fucking meet and greet and hang out. But DJ, if you're around tomorrow, I'm going to stream at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Drop me a text. Let me know if you're around. I'll drop you the link. You can come on with me and Laura. We'll do a little Idaho and get caught up on all things Idaho. It just felt good to detach from that for a little while. I know we did a midweek stream, but just coming and doing some new stuff, it just reinvigorated me. It refreshened, my ideas. And we'll bounce back tomorrow night and do that. So, all right. So, everybody, thank you this evening. A shorter show this evening. We're going to get off here, and I appreciate everybody hanging out. I believe this is episode 30 maybe. Let me look. I just want to make sure I'm right on that. Episode, I think it is 30. Episode 30. All right. Episode 30 in the bucket. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out this evening. Be well, be safe. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Brian. That's Laura, and we'll be back. Okay, I got to find my outro. Goodbye.